You didn't find any broken glass?
No.
No damaged cars?
No.
No bullet holes?
No.
You established no shell cases?
Correct.
No blood?
Correct.
In fact, you didn't find any signs of shooting, right?
Correct.
I'm going to be analysing Joe Tacopina's cross-examination of a police officer in the ASAP Rocky trial. This is a masterclass in constructive cross-examination. Now, Joe is known for being an aggressive, tenacious advocate. Not so in this cross-examination. In this cross-examination, we get to see Joe's gentle side.
We'll give the world here. Hey, Sergeant, how are you?
Good, sir. How you doing?
Did you notice the informal greeting at the start of this cross-examination? He said to the officer, "Hey Sergeant, how are you?" The reason he did that was because he's trying from the outset to establish a rapport with this witness. Joe's strategy is to engage in constructive cross-examination. In other words, he is going to try and extract from this witness helpful, supportive testimony that's going to help the defence case. And so in order to ensure that this witness provides that helpful testimony, he needs to have a friendly demeanour. He needs to establish a rapport with the witness. He's not going to be confrontational with this witness. He's not going to alienate this witness. He wants to keep this witness on side to ensure that the witness is not defensive and therefore provides helpful testimony and makes concessions. Now, in my legal jurisdiction, England, Wales, we wouldn't be so informal when greeting a witness. We'd probably say, "Good morning, I'll be asking questions on behalf of Mr. whoever."
Several things. This whole line of questioning about the possibility that you may have missed something from that line.
Joe has started the cross-examination by signposting the area that he's going to question the witness on. In other words, he's explicitly stating the subject matter of the first part of the questioning. And the reason why he's doing that is because it helps the witness to understand the context of the questioning to come. Now, when you're questioning vulnerable witnesses, such as children, it's really important that you do signpost because you don't want to confuse them. So signposting explicitly with vulnerable witnesses is necessary. In cross-examination, you don't have to signpost so explicitly because you do sometimes want to retain the element of surprise. But a signpost, an opaque signpost at least, is good practice.
My question, the prosecutor says you about.
Yes, sir.
You're not trained to miss something, you're trained to find things, correct?
Correct.
That first question, you're not trained to miss something, you're trained to find something. Joe is establishing the witness's competence and professionalism because the complainant in his testimony says that he conducted a search of the area after the police search and found shell casings. Now, the defence case is that those shell casings were planted by the defendant. They weren't there when the search was carried out.
Correct.
You say you may have missed something, there were 7 of you guys responding officers at the scene, correct?
Did you say 7?
Yeah.
I don't think it was 7, but
Good. Okay, how many do you think there were?
I think 3 total.
Oh no. Did you see the video?
I did. I only saw 2 others, including myself. That's 3.
Did you notice Joe's tone with this witness? So clearly there's a disagreement. The officer believes that there were 3 people involved in the search of the location of the shooting. Joe says, "Oh no, did you see the video?" So he's not being aggressive with this witness. He's disagreeing with the witness, and he's going to later show that the witness is mistaken, but he's disagreeing with him in a very respectful manner. Why? Because he wants to retain this witness's credibility with the jury. He wants to portray this witness as being somebody who is credible, his evidence is reliable. Why? Because he is going to elicit testimony from this witness that supports the defence case. And therefore, he wants the jury to accept this witness's evidence because it is going to be supportive of the defence case. And what's really interesting to me is that Joe has a reputation for being really aggressive and tenacious in his cross-examinations of witnesses. He is displaying the complete opposite demeanour in this cross-examination. And as I said before, the reason for that is because he wants to keep this witness on side. He doesn't want to alienate the witness. He doesn't want the witness to be defensive. He wants this witness to feel comfortable conceding points and providing testimony that supports the defence case.
How about Brian Kijevix? You know him?
Kijevix, yes.
Was he there?
I believe so, yes.
How about John Cook?
Yes.
Okay. Gerardo Sweeney?
Don't recall.
Okay. Steve Wilson?
Also same.
Rocky Martinez?
Same.
How about Adrian Rodriguez?
Don't remember seeing him.
And Jose Quintanilla?
Quintanilla? No, sir.
You don't remember seeing him either?
No.
So, anyway, there came footage of other officers, not just yours, right?
Correct, yeah.
Anyway, long story short, you don't know if you missed something, right?
I don't think anybody would know if they missed something, right?
Yeah, I agree with the officer that the question is redundant.
What was the first time you discussed the possibility that maybe you missed something with the prosecutors? What was the first time you discussed that?
I mean, today we reviewed stuff, right?
Oh no, I wasn't there. Today?
Correct.
But it was the first time you discussed maybe I missed something.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
This was in 2021.
And what's it now?
This is 2025.
Okay. So for the first time since 2021, today is the first time you discussed with the prosecutors, oh, I may have missed something.
Correct.
Joe Tacopina here is suggesting that this officer didn't miss anything during his search of the location of the shooting in 2021. He wasn't aware that he had missed anything. And in fact, the very first time that this was even a possibility was today, prior to the court hearing, when the prosecutor perhaps suggested this to him. And so what Joe Tacopina is doing is undermining the prosecution case that this officer and his colleagues missed something during the search of the location of the shooting.
And the first time you met with them, anyone in this case, was on Wednesday, right?
No, today is the first time I met with them. Spoke with them on the phone.
On Wednesday?
Wednesday, I believe, about scheduling and about appearing
Okay.
to court.
So today's the first time you met with them?
Met with them in person, yes.
And the first time you discussed testimony was today?
Yes.
You didn't discuss on Wednesday?
No, we discussed scheduling and what the case was about. That's it.
Again, notice Joe Tacopina's manner with this witness. He's very calm, he's not aggressive, he is keeping this witness on side in the hope that this witness will feel comfortable enough to provide supportive evidence, in the hope that this witness will not feel attacked and will not feel the need to be defensive.
You didn't discuss on Wednesday?
No, we discussed scheduling and what the case was about. That's it.
You take your duties seriously. By the way, let me stop for a second. You were asked what you were looking for hypothetically when you arrived at the scene of a call for a shooting. You recall that?
Yes.
And you said victims, yes?
Yes.
Damage to property, correct?
Correct.
What about shell casings? You looked at that too?
Sure.
Because you didn't mention that. That would be something, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay, this is very good. So what's happening here is the lawyer is getting the witness to commit to what he said in his examination in chief. And so he's making him repeat what he said about what he would expect to find at the scene of a shooting, victims, damage to property, perhaps some shell casings. He's getting him to commit to that, because later on in this cross-examination, he's going to contrast this with what the officer actually found when he conducted a search of the location of the alleged shooting. Nothing.
You take your duties as a law enforcement officer seriously, Sergeant?
I do.
And because of that, you make your best effort to perform your duties to the best of your ability.
Right.
Okay, so he's establishing again the witness's competence and professionalism. He takes his duties, his duties as an officer seriously. He tries to perform his duties to the best of his ability. This is not somebody who is incompetent or unprofessional. So what's really interesting is he's not trying to undermine the witness in any way. He's not trying to demonstrate that this is an incompetent witness, as you might do in destructive cross-examination. No, he's doing the opposite. He's bolstering this witness's professionalism and credibility as well.
And you do, in fact, the best to perform your police functions carefully.
Yes.
And you're a sergeant, right?
Yes.
Very distinguished position, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of buttering up going on here. You're a sergeant, a very distinguished position. Witness says, thank you. You're welcome, is what Joe Tacopina says. So again, he's laying on the charm. He's buttering up this witness. He wants the witness to be supportive. He's hoping that this witness is going to be an ally and not a foe.
Don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you get called to a shooting scene. You guys have flashlights too, right?
Correct.
Searchlights. You know what you're looking for, right?
Correct.
Okay, so this line of questioning is really important. He's establishing that the search was conducted thoroughly. He's establishing that they could see. They had searchlights. They had flashlights. This was a thorough search, and therefore, had there been any physical evidence, this witness or his colleagues would have been able to find that physical evidence. So watch and see what Joe Tacopina does.
On November 6, 2021 at 10:27 p.m., you had received a report of shots fired, right?
Correct.
And you responded to the area of Selma and East Delmar.
Correct.
And you were wearing your body camera, I think that was established, right?
Yes, sir.
And you reported that.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, fellow officers reported video as well.
Correct.
And you, in turn, reported your fellow officers' activity.
Right.
Joe was a little animated there, did a little jig. Not sure that that was appropriate, Joe.
You exited your car around 10:31.
Can't independently recall, but if it shows that on the timestamp, that timestamp's accurate. There's no reason to believe it's not.
Right. Not accurate.
Correct.
Okay. And your car was parked next to that parking lot on East Delmar?
Yes.
And after exiting your car, you walked southbound on East Delmar
Correct.
towards the stop sign on the corner there, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. And then you walked into that parking lot with all those cars, right?
Yes, sir.
By the way, there was no damage to any of those cars that time, right?
Not that we saw, no.
You were looking, right? You guys were looking.
Yes, sir.
And once you were in the parking lot, according to your body cam footage, you walked from one end of it to the other.
Correct.
As you did that, you had your flashlight on.
Sure.
And you saw from your body cam footage, other officers had their flashlights on.
Correct.
Now, at one point from your body cam footage, you were looking at the windshield of the vehicle with your flashlight, right?
The rear windshield on the red car?
Yeah.
Yes.
You were searching for signs of shooting, right?
Correct.
You didn't find any broken glass?
No.
No No damage scores?
No.
No bullet holes?
No.
Just that was no showcase?
Correct.
No blood?
Correct.
In fact, you didn't find any signs of shooting, right?
Correct.
This is really good cross-examination technique here. If the defence was that there was no shooting at all, then this would be classic textbook constructive cross-examination, because he established that there were no signs of a shooting. Now, how did he establish that? By using the facts to lead the witness to that conclusion. No broken glass, no damaged doors, no bullet holes, no shell casings, no blood, no signs of a shooting. Fantastic. What else was so good about this part of the cross-examination? Leading questions were asked, so he was asserting rather than asking. The questions were factually correct, therefore the witness was not going to disagree with any of the assertions embedded in the questions. As a result, Joe was able to establish a rhythm and therefore a pattern of agreement. That rhythm was really attractive to listen to. The questions were short, and that again contributed to this lovely, attractive rhythm. He was building momentum towards the conclusion, and it was very difficult for the witness to disrupt that momentum because the questions were factually correct. So, short, factually correct, leading questions. Established a rhythm, established a pattern of agreement, established momentum towards the final conclusion. There were no signs of a shooting. Great. And why was this constructive cross-examination? Because he elicited supportive evidence. He elicited evidence that supported any case theory that there was no shooting.
Now, you said there have been times you responded to a reported shooting only to find that the person who made the call intentionally lied about it, right?
Right, like the false report of emergency or somebody suffering from mental illness.
Yes.
Right.
So that would be an intentional lie, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you'd agree that if someone misreports a shooting that never really happened, you wouldn't expect to find any evidence of it when you get there, right?
Right.
Okay, the question I think was redundant. If there had been no shooting, of course there wouldn't be any evidence. I don't think that needed to be stated. The jury could use their common sense to arrive at that conclusion. Okay, I'm going to stop the reaction here. This was a really good demonstration of constructive cross-examination. And if you're interested in learning more about constructive cross-examination, or in fact anything to do with advocacy, then sign up for my free monthly bulletin, where I analyse advocacy techniques and I talk about advocacy generally. The link to sign up for the bulletin is in the description box below this video. See you next time.